Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you're joining today from. Welcome to another exciting meeting at Sattvic Toastmasters for Healthy Living. We have a wonderful agenda lined up and a wonderful project today. But before that, let me invite our presiding officer for today, Distinguished Toastmaster Pramod.
Hello and future Toastmasters, good morning and good evening. Welcome to yet another meeting of Sattvic Toastmasters Club. Today, Sattvic Toastmasters Club is completing one successful tenure, and this is the last presidential speech for me because next week we are starting our holidays. So after that, we'll be restarting our meeting on 7th of January. So by that time, there would be a new leadership team taking over the club. And we are planning so many activities for the next year also. Let me introduce some of the visiting Toastmasters and guests over here. Today also we have a special meeting with one panel discussion on ethical leadership and one more regular meeting. That's the agenda for today's meeting. Let me first ask distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri to introduce herself. I think she's visiting the club for the second time. If you don't mind, distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. It's just early morning here, so I'm not properly dressed, hence I'm not on camera.
Oh, it's okay, fine. You are joining from India or from outside?
I'm joining from India.
Okay. Thanks for joining. And people like you, experienced Toastmasters, definitely will add to the quality of our meeting. Please do visit the club again and again.
Thank you.
Yes, Sonia. Sonia, could you just introduce yourself and tell us how you came to know about Toastmasters, Sattvic Toastmasters Club? I think Sonia is not there. That's fine. It's a very packed agenda today. We have a panel discussion about 1 hour. After that, we are running short of time. I'm not elaborating my presidential speech. The topic itself is very interesting, ethical leadership. For the panel discussion, we have a panel moderator, and she will take us through the various nuances and the various concept of the ethical leadership topic. Before that, we have a Toastmaster of the day to control the meeting, to conduct the meeting, and coordinate with all role players and speakers. Today, distinguished Toastmaster Raghunath Raju is the Toastmaster of the day. So with a huge round of applause, let me hand over the baton back to you, or let me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Raghu.
Thank you, Pramod. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening once again. Ethics or ethical leadership. What does it mean to you? Right? This reminds me of a story of two sons from our epic Mahabharata. When Karna confronted Krishna saying that I was always oppressed and I was never given equal opportunity, then Krishna said, I was under the same circumstances, removed from my parents at my birth, and I went through all the situations where I had to fight demons at my childhood. But you had a girl of your choice, but I never got that opportunity and went to several situations. But I choose to support Dharma, irrespective of what I had to face. But you choose to support Adharma because you wanted fame. And that's the difference. Which is why we today worship Krishna as a Lord of 8 universes when Karna is still known just as another warrior. That is the difference that ethics make. That is the difference in the choices you make in your life. With that note, let me introduce to the speaker and also the moderator for the ethical leadership discussion. And guess what? We have leaders from different realms who are going to be participating in this. And Vrunda herself is coming and realm, which is being a HR professional from Canada. And she just recently had joined to started her journey in Toastmasters. And she's going heights, I would say. Let me invite the moderator for today's discussion. But before that, let me invite distinguished Toastmaster Murali Anadata to give speech objectives or the project objectives for this ethical leadership discussion.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Raghunath Raju. The purpose of this project is for the member to apply our skills as a public speaker and leader to facilitate a panel discussion. The speech timing is 20 to 40 minutes, and I wish her all the best in her mission. Over to you.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Murali and Toastmaster Vrunda. The stage is yours.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Raghu, for that great introduction. Ethical leadership is a GPS for navigating through tough decisions. Just like we rely on a GPS for navigating directions in our day-to-day life, ethical leadership and the heuristics about ethical leadership is what comes into play when we are in a dilemma, ethical dilemma. Sometimes we are struggling with conversations within ourselves, difficult conversations, difficult situations, conflicting priorities. And that's what is the motivation behind today's panel discussion and an opportunity to learn from some distinguished panelists. Let me first begin by introducing our panel. I would request the tech master to please spotlight as and when I introduce the panelist. Our first panelist is a program manager at NVIDIA, a district director at District 101, a community builder who genuinely cares about others' development. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Abhijit Joshi. Let's hear a big round of applause for him. Next is a doctor by profession, and I would like to see if Dr. Mary is around. She is having some internet issues, so let's see if she's able to join at a later time. I will move on to introduce our next panelist. Really excited. Our panelist is a Deputy Vice President and Regional Head at Federal Bank. He is a passionate storyteller, coach, and someone who brings laughter to any room. A doting husband, a proud father, and he is no stranger at Sattvic Toastmasters. He is none other than our president, distinguished Toastmaster Pramod. Let's all welcome DTM Pramod. Last but not the least is a true life transformer. He has served in the Indian Army for almost 3 decades. He is a battle survivor, a UN peacekeeper, a director of recruitment, a leadership coach, a startup mentor, author, and he is genuinely, again, believes in transforming lives and making a difference. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Colonel Tarun Kumar. Huge round of applause, please. And with this diverse panel, before we dive into our discussion, let me just explain a few guidelines, or rather housekeeping points. I would be having a timer that's going to help me with time. We, of course, have Toastmaster Vibhuda, who's a timer. He would be timing this panel discussion. We are hoping to have this discussion for about 40 minutes. So he would show us the the green card at 25, a yellow at 32, and a red card at around 39 minutes. But apart from that, in order to keep our discussion moving and to also help us keep track of time, I'm going to use a timer app. Before we do that, can someone help me? Am I audible and visible properly? Because in
Yes,
between,
you're
I'm
audible
getting an
and
internet
visible.
connection.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I'm getting this message about, the internet connection is slow. So I'm not sure if it is trying to test me or it's real. So with this, let's dive into our discussion. I would first like to open up the panel discussion. I'm going to bring up the timer app here. And I've practiced it enough number of times, but now when I'm checking it out, I don't see the timer app, but it will come up. Let me just, okay, here it is. So we have got a 2-minute question, which is on ethical leadership. I'm going to begin with asking everyone's perspective on ethical leadership, what it means to them, what are the crucial attributes that you would like to see in someone who's practicing ethical leadership. Let me first invite DTM Abhijit Joshi for his initial remarks. Over to you, DTM Abhijit.
Thank you so much, Vrunda. When I think about ethical leadership, the first thing that comes to my mind is the courage. Because I was pondering over it, we need to have the courage to practice ethical leadership. That is the first thing that comes to my mind. But when I start looking at the attributes, the number one attribute is integrity. Integrity with myself and integrity with others. And also that is one of our core values of Toastmasters. As I start diving further, the next thing that comes to my mind is transparency with the way things are done. Because if we are transparent, that helps other people to develop the trust with ourselves. So transparency plays a key role. Another attribute is fairness. One thing I learned is I have to be fair with myself and fair with the others, as well as fair with the organization I'm working for. So these are the different attributes I feel that are very important when we are trying to practice the ethical leadership. Vrunda?
Thank you, DTM Abhijit. That was really insightful. Let me invite our next panelist, DTM Pramod, for his initial remarks.
Thanks, Vrunda. I totally agree with what Abhijit said. I studied law for my graduation and post-graduation, and there is a popular confusion among the people about the word legal and ethical. Sometimes we believe that legal is ethical or ethical means it's legal. So in order to clarify that doubt, my professor told me a story. He said, you are a swimmer. You know swimming very well. And a child is drowning in front of you. So you have the choice to help the child or not to help the child. If you don't help the child, it's not at all a legal violation. But if you don't help the child, it's an ethical violation. He said, ethics is something which goes beyond the legal territory. Sometimes we feel that if I do something legally, then it is ethical. Sometimes the ethical things which we do might be contrary to the popular belief of legal things. For example, Satyagraha. Satyagraha is totally against law. What Mahatma Gandhi did is, after breaking the salt law, he simply said, I deferred the law enacted by the British government. So you can see ethics in the way people behave in certain situations. Situations like when you are in confusion, you take a decision. Sometimes it takes courage to take a decision. Sometimes it needs to be transparent, radically transparent. Sometimes you have to be honest and accountable for the decision. So it can be seen everywhere. You can look at ethical leadership examples from Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bible. In all the religious scripts, you will see people with ethical leadership qualities. Even the first two core values of Toastmasters, integrity and respect, are the core principles of ethical leadership too. So when we talk about further, we'll face certain situations, then definitely we have to choose the right thing as per our conscience. So I would say that is my ethics, my core values. Over to you, Vrunda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DTM Pramod. And last but not the least, let me invite Colonel Tarun Kumar for his initial remarks.
Dr. Mary is also there. She has also joined.
Okay. I will invite her after Colonel Tarun is done.
Okay. So having resonated with what both my previous speakers have spoken about, let me bring a dimension and take this conversation a wee bit more interesting. We all know what is the difference between right and wrong. And if we choose to do what is right, I call it as a moral decision. However, when our morality is reflected through the willingness to do the right things, how hard or dangerous at times it may be, that is what ethical is. So in nutshell, if I have to summarize this entire concept, I would say that being ethical is something to do with understanding that these are your moral values in action. Now, there are a whole world of abstract qualities that we as human beings would love to possess. Some are there. They're all part of our initial upbringing. Over a period of time, we have imbibed these qualities. And also over a period of time, we have shunned many qualities because we were under a lot of pressure. We thought that this is something that would help me succeed. We all want to be successful in life. And that is where the moral dilemma or the ethical dilemma comes in, what you are willing to compromise. So when we talk about ethical leadership, we are talking about people who are doing the right thing through their words and action. They're living it every day. Back to you, Vrunda.
Thank you. That's really wonderful, Colonel Tarun. And we have our fourth panelist, Dr. Mary Thomas, who's here amongst us. She's no stranger to Sattvic Toastmasters. She is more of a holistic doctor. She's an author. She's a Toastmasters for 33 years and still going strong. She is, what do I say? Somebody who's a people connector. Whatever problem, be it a medical problem, be it life problems, or it's just a chat, Dr. Mary is always available. She manages to have 48 hours in the usual 24 hours. That's how I see her. So welcome, Dr. Mary. It's a pleasure that you could make it to the panel discussion. And we are still on our opening remarks. So I would welcome you to share your thoughts on what is ethical leadership. What are the crucial attributes you think a person with ethical leadership should have? Over to you, Dr. Mary.
You're on mute, Mary.
You're mute.
On
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Vrunda. And I'll speak very quickly on the perspective of the healthcare profession. As a doctor, I would say that we have quite a bit of transparency in our leadership as a physician and dealing with the people at large, society at large. For a simple example, let's say I'm in the hospital and I am in the outpatient department and I'm seeing a patient for approximately 5 minutes. It is very, very transparent because there's nothing unethical I can do, because here it is, a patient speaking to me, here it is me giving the treatment options for the patient. So it ends right there. Now, if I make a mistake, or if any doctor makes a mistake, immediately there is a possibility of a medical legal issue. So to a large extent, we doctors do not really face ethical issues because there are so many repercussions, so many consequences if we do anything that falls short of integrity, ethics, honesty, truthfulness, fairness, you name the whole game about ethical leadership. Because it's a very risky thing to do. We're dealing with lives. Now, if anyone acts unethically, then it's going to be impacted because a life will be lost. So our perception and our viewpoint is quite different from someone in corporate, for example, or someone in politics. You can get away with it. We cannot get away with it. So that's what I would have to say about it. Thank you. Over to you, Vrunda.
Thank you, Dr. Mary. That was an interesting perspective and different really from the corporate world. When there is a situation of life and death, real life situation, it's really different. Now, as we delve into the heart of our conversation, and I'm going to discuss about ethical dilemmas. Before that, I would also like to invite the audience to share any questions that they might have in the chat. I will be moderating the chat, and we'll be having an audience interaction through the chat medium. So my question to all the panelists is, as you navigate through your experiences, you would have definitely come across challenging situations, conflicting priorities, something wherein you might have had to convince somebody of something. I would be really interested in knowing how you navigate through those experiences. What's your thought process? What's your decision-making process? What are those shortcuts or heuristics that you use for making those decisions? Maybe you could share a situation and then walk us through it. I would start with DTM Pramod this time. Over to you, DTM Pramod, to share an experience. And I've got a timer going for around 3 minutes per speaker. That's just approximate. Please don't feel offended by the timer.
Not at all. I am a representative of the banking industry. I work in a bank. Talking about ethical dilemmas. So we face those ethical dilemmas every day, especially the people they are working, because we are handling money. Money is the most tempting factor. Even let me quote a line from Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha. So there is a question. Parvati, it's not Raghuvamsha, it is Kumarasambhava. Parvati asked Parameshwara, that is God, Shiva, who is the brave person, or who is the bravest among all? The answer is Chittam Chalipadin Hedu Mudrunu Nilke. That means you have every reason, your mind has every reason to move because of temptation, and still you are resisting those temptation and holding the position, then you are the bravest person. So when it comes to dilemmas or even temptation, whether you are able to overcome those temptations, then you are a leader. Those temptations can be anything. So we have seen that great people at top of companies, I'm not naming them, but sometimes they can't or they couldn't resist their temptation and they fall victim to their own actions. So it takes one moment to tarnish the entire respect or the picture about you to the outer world to be shattered. But it takes a whole life to build that reputation or courage called ethical or the name as an ethical leader. So it's something leaders should be conscious every time in their actions, in their personal life. Sometimes we say that people are being criticized for their personal act. Why we worried about an actor promoting a pan masala or a brand? So it is their personal thing. Why don't we enjoy them on the screen and leave their personal things to them? It's not like that. So if you are a leader, you have a responsibility towards society. Even your personal actions do matter. You are personally and professionally responsible for your values. So for you, that is the price that you are paying. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be accepted as a leader, you have no personal life, because your personal life and professional life are interlinked, and you are responsible for those who are looking forward you for inspiration. Back to you, Vrunda.
Fantastic. And I love that, you are a leader. So your personal life is and professional life are kind of married. We do talk about work-life balance, but there is a correlation. And thank you for bringing that out. Next, let me invite DTM Abhijit for his perspective on ethical dilemma. And please share any anecdotes or anything you would like to. Over to you.
Thank you, Vrunda. Currently, as a district, we are facing one situation. We have 9 clubs which are below minimum. We are trying to support these clubs, but we have this one thing in mind. We decided as a team is we will help them as much as they want to help themselves. I know at the end the numbers will matter, but if they are not ready to help themselves, we cannot do very much. And we do not want to create a mirage. So that's the tough decision which we had to make as the unit, as the leaders of the district. I think when we decided to make that tough decision, it not only helped us as a team, but it also got us together because we know we are in this together. I think that's one thing which I want to say is sometimes as a leader, we have to make those tough decisions, which will help us long term, but in short term, they will be detrimental. And this actually correlates to the Amazon principle. Amazon says, as a leaders, we need to be owners. We need to look long term, not short term. I think the ethics plays a big part when we start thinking not just about our team, but the whole organization.
That's really important and insightful. Think about the big picture, the whole team, not just your own area. And that's really important. So, next and last again, but not the least, or rather, second last, I should say, Colonel Tarun, may I invite you to share your anecdotes? I'm sure you'll have a lot of stories to tell. Might be hard to pick up a story, but we are all ears to hear about what you need to share.
Most of the things in this world are not simple. It is the man on ground who is supposed to take a decision. That is what we are taught in the army. I'll share an incident about when I was commanding in the valley, that is in the hotbed of terrorism. One of my QRTs were surrounded by locals. Terrorists operate in a very different modus operandi. They use locals as, especially women and children, as the frontline soldiers. And they shadow them and they would like to carry out damage. So my party got surrounded, and and this gentleman is asking me, the NCO who's there, the sergeant or the havaldar who's there, he's asking me that, what is it that is supposed to be done? And I asked him, what do you think is the right thing? Do, because you are the man on ground. I'm sitting somewhere else. I'm not aware of the ground realities. Unfortunately, this is a problem that we all encounter with. Now, before I navigate myself to the other part, I must tell you that this gentleman, he did not open fire, because that is what we are taught in the Indian Army. However, he created a smoke field, and he said that if anybody moves beyond this smoke line, then he would be forced to fire. And seeing that particular smoke canister being lobbed at the civilians or the locals, they understood that if he can lob a smoke canister, probably he would not hesitate in firing a bullet. Many a times your message gets across in different ways. Now, when we talk about ethical leadership or ethics in action, as I had earlier said, that most of our actions are stemming from the desire to be known for something that we are. We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen as successful entities. Somewhere there is a gap in our understanding, and that gap is emanating from the fact that people, they want to see people who are successful as leaders. What an irony that is. Where did that concept of you being inspiring vanished in thin air? So I'll talk about an incident from Wimbledon, which I remember. Andy Roddick was playing this Spanish player, and he was number one at that point in time. The player on the opposite end served, and the umpire said that it is out. And the player came to the net, wished Andy Roddick victory. Andy Roddick knew in his hearts of hearts that the ball had landed on the line, and it was a correct call. He went against the umpire's decision, and he said that in his view, this is the right thing. And thereafter, the match turned, and the number one player was beaten in the round of 16 at Wimbledon. Later on, people dissected this entire event and said that how much of loss, monetary loss, Andy Roddick would have made. Andy Roddick was not bothered about it, because he had won millions by exhibiting his character and integrity. And ultimately, what Abhijit said, fairness. So in a game, in sports, in life, even as human beings, we want to be treated fairly.
Absolutely, Colonel Tarun. Sorry to interrupt here, but we need to get more information out of you. So there's a selfish idea behind me interrupting you. And without further ado, let me invite Dr. Mary for her some anecdotes, some personal experiences about ethical dilemma. Over to you, Dr. Mary.
Thank you, Vrunda. Personally, I always believe in ethics and rightfulness, honesty, integrity, truthfulness, you name it, sincerity, all of that coming from home. I'm a big believer of everything starting from the basic family unit, which we call our home, our family. Now, if we have someone who has been brought up with that wholesome family environment, that person is absolutely going to be someone who is ethical. I mean, this has been proven many, many times, where they've brought even twins into different environments. One has been put into an alcoholic family. The other one has been put into a highly educated or whatever it may be, in all of that wholesome things. And we saw the end result of what this pair of twins actually manifested at the end of the day. So this is a proven fact. Now, having said that, what I'm trying to say is that if we want to talk about ethics, is what panelist Pramod has mentioned, it all starts from the home. a really ethical, I don't want to overuse this word, but a father who is, I mean, a man in the family, he's a masculine, he uses his head. And the woman is a feminine, she uses her heart. Now, if you put your heart and heart together, what do you get? You get a happy family. That's without a doubt. We don't even have to doubt that. Now, so let's go from the home perspective and then go into school. When we go into school, oh, you're telling me, let me share with you a perspective that happened to my daughter. Now, if I have to mention this, and when we go into, then we would have to go into racial issues. But what I'm trying to say is that there are teachers who would amend the grades of a student so that the teacher's favorite student will get the upper hand, or will get the, whatever you call it, rank or whatever. In Malaysia, we call it, I don't even remember what it's called, but there's a lot of issue on that one. So, well, when this happened, I did not go and fight with the teacher. I did not go and inform the principal that this is going on. What I saw in myself was that, never mind, girl, God can see it. Please remember, this is my own perspective. God can see it, and you would be rewarded for what you have done. Never mind what anyone has done, and you have lost your position or whatever. And guess what? In the public exams, she topped the ranks. There's no way a teacher could have changed the grades. She topped the ranks because she actually deserved it. So that's a personal experience. So that teacher did not behave with ethics. So that's what I have to say, personal experience. From a doctor's perspective, I've got something else, but I'll talk about it later.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mary. And thank you to all the panelists for sharing your personal incidences with so much of candor. Let me now invite some audience comments and questions. Audience, please feel free to add your questions to the chat and I'll read out the questions. Till the time I don't see any questions as yet. In the meanwhile, may I ask the panelists, so my question is, what do you do when you have to approach a person with a difficult situation? For example, you have to negate somebody. So you are probably talking to a leader. They are looking at East and you want to tell them, no, we don't want to look in the East. We need to look in the West. So how do you deal with such a situation? Anybody can take it in the panel. Okay, I see Abhijit's hand first and then I'll go to Dr. Mary.
I had a very similar situation very recently, a couple of months ago. I was working with this area director. Area director is responsible for 5 clubs, not just their own club. But in his perspective, his first duty was to just locate this work on his own club. And then the second duty is to work on the 5 clubs. So we're kind of looking at opposite ways. We're butting heads against each other. So as I was having a dialogue with him, the first thing was in my mind is to fight with what he was saying. But then as I took a step back, as I learned from my experience, the one thing I learned is to empathize with his situation. I tried to understand what is happening with him. And in true sense, his club was in trouble. And because of that, he was not able to pay attention to the area. So we had this back and forth. I decided, okay, we will have a weekly call so that we can go on the same page. First 2 weeks, things were going well. We were kind of aligning with each other. But as the time went on, things changed for him. And then we had to make a tough decision. He said he's not able to concentrate on his area and he would just like to focus on his club. So at that moment, we had to make that change and in the greater good, because we had to support that area. So sometimes you have to make those tough decisions.
Wow, thank you. We see a question, and Dr. Mary, maybe I'll ask you to take that question. So this is a question from Ashish, and let me read out the question. The question is, we come across beggars in streets it looks immoral to avoid helping them. How would you handle this ethically?
Yeah, Vrunda, I can handle this question. I live in the Philippines. Philippines is a very, very poor country. It's actually, in my opinion, it's actually even lower than India. Now, we see a lot of beggars on the streets in the Philippines, and what we do, you see, what I am doing right now is I am offering my time, my expertise, my knowledge, my whatever that I have to give free treatment to the Filipinos. I go out into the rural areas, I do things like that. So to me, I have done what I can do. At the end of the day, you do what you can do and don't feel guilty about it. You also must understand the topic here is beggars on the street. Do you know there's a syndicate that works? It's their job. It's their job. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You should see the drama they put up. Even in Malaysia, there was one. The guy would be there all the time, but we finally found out that he had a big, huge, fat bank account. So there's a lot of syndicates going on, pretending to be beggars. That's their job. It's not easy, because they've got to be out in the sun, putting out the hand in front of everyone. So don't feel guilty about it, because they could be part of a syndicate. And the ones in certain countries, I'm not going to mention names, is that they carry that little baby who's been sedated, and that poor child is just sleeping through, if you really observe it, the child is sleeping all the way. How is it even possible? Does this child feel hungry? So remember, there are frauds in every area of society. So don't feel guilty about it. And if there's if you really, really want to help people, number one, give your time. Give your time, and God will give you back that time. Again, I'm talking about God because I believe in a higher authority there, the spiritual faculty. The other one you can do is go and offer something in the orphanage. Please do not give money. I have worked with many, many orphanages and this kind of thing. They're all, sorry to say, they're all there to avoid tax. They're all there to make some money. So give something and make sure you're there when let's say, for example, you're going to give all the 15 children their birthday treat. Make sure you're there. Make sure it's not a bag of rice, because the person who's running the orphanage may sell that bag of rice. I'm so sorry to say this, but this is the truth, because I've worked in situations like this in different countries, and it's always the same. One last example before my time is up is, you remember during COVID, we had extra ventilators and extra machinery, which was being sent to India. I'm sorry to say this. Guess what? Someone goes in the middle of that, takes it and sells it in the black market. Hello? This is meant to save lives. Now, this is what's happening in the real world. Don't ever feel guilty if you have not done anything for society. What you can do is give your time. Give your time, it'll be given back to you. Trust me.
That's so great and perfect. I can see Colonel Tarun, you have your hand raised. Go ahead, please.
I wanted to support what Mary was saying. In fact, I worked with a corporation called Beggars Corporation, and I'm the director outreach. We are not an NGO. The reason, when we carried out that study, we realized that more than 1 lakh crores, you can count the zeros. I am done counting that. That is the amount of money that is being pumped through donations, pan-India. And if we take the global donation aspects, it would be so mind-boggling that we would not understand. So what we did was, we carried out a research and found out that there is a cartel, there is a kind of mechanizations that people do. Hence, we have come up with an innovative idea of asking people that don't donate, invest. So even
Wow,
at a
that's
red
so
light.
perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And we are almost towards the end. I can see that we have got barely 2 minutes more. So I would like to invite you for your closing comments. Basically, I wanted a mantra or a tagline or something that our audience can keep in mind for next time when they're faced with a situation. on ethical leadership. What would be your mantra for ethical leadership? Over to you, DTM Abhijit. Let's start from you.
The first thing I would say is we need the courage to make those tough decisions. Courage is going to be the one first thing. But once you start looking back, I think the next thing that will make a big impact is stillness. Because sometimes we are afraid of the decisions which we are making. And it's okay to be afraid. But as we stay with that decision for a longer amount of time, those feelings subside and then we can move forward. So having that stillness and staying with that tough decision will help you to move forward and be that ethical leader. So I would encourage you to practice some kind of stillness that will make that possible. Vrunda.
Wonderful. Next, let me invite DTM Pramod for your remarks.
My final remarks would be leaders should have sense of shame in going wrong. Not very uncommon that even sometimes leaders go wrong, but they should have a sense of shame. So we have disturbing stories from corporate world and politics. Look at the case of Enron in US or Satyam in India. In all the cases, it's clearly a leadership issue. But what is important is the moment you realize that you have done something wrong, you should have the sense of shame in going wrong. So that's a situation. So there are 7 leadership qualities enshrined in Mahabharata. There is a conversation between sage Sanala Sujata and Yudhishthira. And Sanala Sujata asked Yudhishthira, what are the 7 qualities for a leader? Not describing the 6 qualities. The 7th quality is this one. The moment you realize that you are going wrong, you should have the sense of shame. So that's my concluding remarks for all the leaders. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. Let me invite Colonel Tarun for his remarks.
We are all aware of what is right, what is wrong. And more so, leaders are aware of it. In fact, whenever we are in this situation of dilemma, I always tell people that do what you consider as right. If you're still unable to do that, you should ask your inner conscience what is right or what is wrong. And even if that thing fails and you're still jumbling between whether it is legal or ethical or whatever, try and look back what your family, what your loved ones would think about it, the decision that you have taken. I think our moral compass should navigate us to an area where we are able to hold our head high. Many a times people in the industry, especially in the corporate world, especially in our near surrounding lives, what we have seen is that people have done something stupid for a 2 second of fame, least realizing that how the coming generations would rate them. Back to you, Vrunda.
Thank you. And let me invite Dr. Mary for her remarks.
I have a simple thing to say. Be a good person. End of story. Be a good person. Know what is right and wrong. If you're not scared of that, I know people who are not even afraid of the court system. They're not even afraid to go to prison. They even say things like, hey, life in the prison is more comfortable than being out here. Therefore, at the end of the day, be a good person. Have a belief. I feel that having a belief in a higher power helps. But I totally agree with what Colonel Tarun has said, where at the end of the day, I still go back to the fact that it all comes to how you were brought up at home. I'm not sure why I keep saying that, maybe because I have emphasized these facts. So to me, be a good person. Back to you.
Wow, that's so wonderful. I have so much of information that I'm feeling great that we had this conversation. We were not having luxury of time, but within the short time, I think we had a lot of learnings. I have more than 2 pages of notes that I've collected. So it's really great. And I want to really reflect back on few things that I noted when we talked about the aspects, the attributes that somebody with ethical leadership should have. It clearly resonated with what is have the courage, be transparent, be honest, be accountable. Remember that it is not that if your personal life and private life is different from your leadership life, you are accountable as a whole person. You're accountable in the social media, on your Facebook, as well as on your LinkedIn, as well on your company website. So everything still counts. What else? You are the man who you need to use your moral compass, navigate how we reroute in when we are using a GPS. If we go wrong, we reroute. We need to use that same principle in our day-to-day lives as well. If there's you have to have your inner strength to gather something, hear the voices, have the courage to make decisions, use stillness, have some meditation or some kind of a routine to keep your faith going, to keep your energies high and inspire others. There's a lot of good things. I would love to thank everybody. Thank you to each and every panelist for such a wonderful discussion and sharing your insights wholeheartedly. I would also love to, I would like to thank all the role players, the timer especially, for keeping us on time, and to all our wonderful audience for being such wonderful listeners and for sharing, learning from all of this. So thank you so much, everybody. It was a wonderful discussion. And with this, I wrap up this panel and hand it over back to the TMOD, DTM Raghu. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Vrunda. I request everyone to give a round of applause for the moderator and all the panelists today. Reminds me of a story that I read in my childhood. There was once upon a great guru, and he had a lot of disciples. He called every disciple, gave them a fruit, and asked them to go and hide in a place and eat. But then one of the disciples didn't go. And everybody went and they hid in different places, under a tree, under a rock, anywhere else. But this one disciple didn't move from there. He was puzzled and asked, why? He said, you can hide from everyone, but what about God? I cannot hide myself from him. And that has changed the entire life of entire monastery, I think, including the guru itself. They say integrity and ethics are something that you practice even in the absence of people observing you. That's what matters. And coming to Toastmaster itself, our core values start from the integrity itself. Integrity, respect, service, and with these three values, excellence is must. It will absolutely something that you will achieve out of your life. And we're talking about the core values and Toastmasters. We have something rather in line with the tagline of Toastmasters, where leaders are made. We have club elections where the leaders for the next term will be elected. But before that, let me reintroduce our evaluator, Distinguished Toastmaster Murali Anadata, who will be evaluating the panel discussion today. And we have a person in our epics called Narada Mahamuni, right? And he was known for traveling across the world, across the universes, and he is known across all the three universes that are talked about here. This is similar to our Murali Anadata. So he's known across the world, and you name the club, name the districts, and he's known everywhere. He has served as a district officer in the region in Kuwait, and also now serving in the Foundation district. And he's also part of first most chartered club in the Foundation district, which was chartered by our own founder of the Toastmasters. Distinguished Toastmaster Murali Anadata, can you please evaluate the panel discussion?
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Raghunath Raju.
Sorry to interrupt. One moment. Can we have a group picture, please? Sorry, I missed to take the picture before. Can everyone come on camera, please, for a moment?
Yeah.
Hope the timer has not started my timing.
Not yet, you're good.
Raghu, can you take a picture for us?
I'm taking. Can everybody else keep your video on? Gayatri, Lisa. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Set cheese. I need one more. Give me a minute. One more. I'm taking one more. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Done. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry to interrupt. Back to you.
You gave me enough time to recreate my evaluation. Great. First of all, my congratulations to Vrunda and all the panelists. It's a great session. 20 to 40 minutes is one of the keynote speakers type. Very well done. I'm going to evaluate you as per the project and as per the guidelines of Toastmasters. I'm going to say the good areas, what you have done, and areas where you can improve. First and foremost, good areas. A great topic, a great moderation. The way you introduced every panelist was stupendous. And the questions you have given them, 5 questions to be precise. I will tell you what are the 5. And it was a great open questions, not just a closed question, yes or no, not type of thing. And they were clear, crisp. Sometimes it was lengthy also. I have to appreciate the way you have explained the timing before in hand. Mary Thomas, can you? Okay. You had given very clear timing for each moderator or each panelist to give their views. Fantastic. I love the way you responded to all their emotions or the message, what they have given. That shows, as per this project, you have to practice what you have learned. So it was an active listening. Excellent. I appreciate that. Finally, the time management. You have reduced the questions in such a way that you had to do it within 20-40 minutes with 4 panelists. Very difficult. Plus, you had given an open forum for audience to ask questions. So overall, these are the very good things. Now, as per the project, I'm not supposed to say anything about what the panelists said. However, I would like to touch on each and everybody. They have given one of the best views possible. I cannot say whether he was good or she was good. All were excellent. Can I ask everybody to give a big applause to our panelists for giving from their heart? Somebody said ethics and it is nothing called honest and ethics are 2 different things. They are a part of it. Great. One area I would appreciate you taking note on this, Vrunda, is this is a prepared speech, prepared panel. One area I found when you were introducing panelist Dr. Mary Thomas, you are hesitating or searching for words while you are introducing her. There were so many ahs and ums, which I would appreciate if you can take note in future meetings. It's not just in Toastmaster, in your professional and personal life, you will be having a panel discussion. So may I request you to work on these things. Second thing, I was expecting whether you're going to close with all the notes, which you did it at the end very well. But overall, I would have thought, I think I've gone to read directly. Okay. So overall, your speech, your panel discussion was very good, timely placed, and gave equal opportunities for all the panelists. Thank you. And over to you. I will send you a report personally in a lengthy one. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Borali Adadata. And now it's time for the club elections to happen. Before that, Let me ask our panelists if they want to give some advice for the club or the club leadership. Let me start asking distinguished Toastmaster Abhijit.
One thing I've learned is in Toastmasters leadership, you learn at every step. So try to give your best, create value for people. And once you're ready, go to the next step. As you go through the ladder, at the end, you will learn so much. You will learn so much about yourself. And you will learn about the impact you can have on a lot of people. So take this opportunity and go to the next level.
Thank you very much. Mary, Dr. Mary. I believe she's busy. She said she had an appointment.
I'm afraid I've got some internet issues. I'll have to pass this. Thank you, Raghu.
Problem. Thank you. Kannan, sir.
I would only say that it's always the team which makes all the difference. So while you are here, you're spending time, not only gain, also try and share. Because the philosophy in life has to be the more I give, the more I receive. So many a times I've seen in Toastmasters that there are only a couple of people who are doing, and rest are all no passengers. Try to be a worthwhile passenger that people would love to engage with, probably spend their time with, and becomes friend for life, rather than just coming and doing nothing but being there, which defies logic to me. Why you should be spending 90 minutes of your life doing nothing? So that's the hard talk. The other part is that add value. We all can add value in some way or the other. If we are investing our time, in fact, by the time you reach the age that we are in on the other side of the 50, you would realize that time is slipping by. So make each and every second count, not minutes. Back to you, Toastmaster Raghu.
Thank you very much. With that note, let me invite the election officer for today, distinguished Lakshmi Narayan. DPM Lakshmi, you there?
Yes, DTM Rakho. I was just checking the quorum. I think we don't have a quorum. Should we wait for 10-15 minutes so that we can see if other members are joining?
Sure, let's wait for 5 minutes more.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for joining all the panelists. Thank you, Abhijit. Bye-bye. Take care. So I will stop recording here.